What's going on, YouTube? Happy Thanksgiving! It's Thomas L here. I decided to do a top five of my favorite Thanksgiving movies. Now, but to be honest, I can't really think of like 10 Thanksgiving movies that I've really dug. So instead of 10, I'm just going to go ahead and just do a top five. So that being said, here are my top five favorite Thanksgiving movies. All right. Coming in at number five is actually a relatively new one, and that is this movie that just came out last month, Oath, which starred and was directed by Ike Barinholtz, who, of course, did stuff like Blockers, Neighbors. And this film also stars Ike Barinholtz with Tiffany Haddish, who is always awesome. Now, this is more like a political climate film. I mean, Ike Barinholtz plays a guy named Chris, who is a high strung news junkie, and his more level headed wife, played by Haddish, learns that citizens are being asked to sign a loyalty oath to the president, and like their reaction is disbelief. And as the Thanksgiving, the deadline is to sign approaches, the combination of sparing relatives, including Ike Barinholtz's character's brother, also comes, and they have like those who have like much of like characters, of course, have like political differences with one another, and there's like some high tensions that happens throughout. I don't want to talk about it much because I don't know how many people have seen the movie, so I don't want to like spoil much of it. It's actually really funny. Tiffany Haddish and Ike Barinholtz was pretty good. The scene with them around on the table on Thanksgiving is pretty funny. I mean, I really dug the dialogue between Ike Barinholtz and his real life brother John Barinholtz. Tiffany Haddish was pretty good in this. I mean, I gotta say this is kind of a different role for Tiffany Haddish. I mean, it's still comedy, but it's not like slapstick comedy that she did like with Girls Trip or Night School. This is more of a dark comedy for her, and I thought Haddish was really good. And Ike Barinholtz's brother, John Barinholtz, he is pretty good. John Show was amazing. I really dug the cast. So if you guys still haven't had a chance to check out The Oath, do yourself a favor and give The Oath a go. You'll actually like it. And this movie also will spark political debates as well. So, all right, coming in at number four is the Ang Lee film, The Ice Storm. Now, this one got released in. Let's get released in. Yeah, it got released in 1997, and it's actually, I believe it's one of Ang Lee's earliest work. The Ice Storm is really good. I mean, it had a solid cast. I mean, it had people like Kevin Kline, Sigourney Weaver was in this, Tobey Maguire, Christina Ricci. You had Joan Allen, Elijah Wood. Like, the movie is set in the 1970s, and it's about a wholesome family who begins cracking at the seams over the course of a Thanksgiving break. And like frustrated with his job, the father, named Ben, played by Kline, seeks fulfillment by cheating on his wife, Elena, played by Joan Allen, with his neighborhood seductress, Jenny, played by Sigourney Weaver, and their teenage daughter named Wendy, played by Christina Ricci. Devils and sexual affairs too with Jenny's son, played by Elijah Wood, and the family's strained relations continue until like a ice storm strikes. It's a really good little movie. It had some pretty good performances. Christina Ricci was good. Kevin Kline was amazing. I think this is probably Ang Lee's most underrated gem. A lot of people know him from with doing stuff like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Brokeback Mountain. Not many people really talk about the Ice Storm as they should, because it's really good. I mean, if you guys still haven't seen the Ice Storm yet, check it out. It's a pretty good little film. All right. Coming in at number 3 will be the film Home for the Holidays. Now, this was released in 1995 and was directed by Jodie Foster. And also featured, cast members that includes Holly Hunter, Robert Downey Jr. was in this. You even had Anne Bancroft, Dylan McDermott, Steve Guttenberg was in this movie. Pretty good cast. I mean, Holly Hunter actually plays a single mother who travels alone to her childhood home for an explosive holiday dinner with her dysfunctional family. And she quickly tries her best to deal with her family members during Thanksgiving week. It's really good. This movie is actually relatable, especially if you got a dysfunctional family around Thanksgiving. Holly Hunter was pretty good in this. Robert Downey Jr. way before he did Iron Man. I mean, before he did Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr. had a pretty interesting career, I guess you could say. Iron Man. Of course, he's bigger now thanks to Iron Man, but back in the days, he's did loads of other stuff. With this Chaplin. Downey Jr. is an awesome actor, and Jodie Foster did a pretty good job at directing this too. I mean, if you guys haven't seen Home for the Holidays, it's another Thanksgiving film worth checking out. All right, coming in at number 2 is actually, I guess, you can say more of a special than a movie, but I guess I'm going to still count. And that is the classic A Charlie Brown's Thanksgiving. Now, this film is always played during Thanksgiving. Who doesn't love Charlie Brown on Thanksgiving? It first premiered on ABC in 1973, and it gets shown very constantly. And I mean, these Charlie Brown holiday specials have always been amazing. I mean, whether you talk about A Charlie Brown Christmas, the Halloween one, the Valentine's Day one. I mean, they've really done great with the Charlie Brown film series. And I gotta say, Charlie Brown Thanksgiving will probably be my favorite one. Followed by Charlie Brown Christmas, and it's Charlie Brown Thanksgiving. It's just a classic. If you guys still haven't seen it, give it a go. But to be honest, I don't know how many people haven't seen Charlie Brown Thanksgiving. All right. Coming in at number 1 is probably one of my favorite 80s comedy, and number 1 is Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. This movie is hysterical. I mean, it's directed by John Hughes, who was one of the best filmmakers in the 80s. And also featured stars led by Steve Martin and John Candy. I mean, pretty much Steve Martin is trying to get home to Chicago to spend Thanksgiving with his wife and kids. And his flight is rerouted to a distant city in Kansas because of a freak snowstorm. and he ends up and he is like forced to bunk up with a talkative guy played by John Kennedy, whom he finds extremely annoying. And together they must like overcome the insanity of holiday travel to reach their destination. I really dug the chemistry between Steve Martin and John Candy. John Hughes did a pretty good job at directing. There's also some pretty funny lines that's featured in this. I mean, this movie is an 80s classic. And it all has to do with the chemistry between Steve Martin and John Candy. I don't know, their chemistry really was on point with this movie. And that movie, Due Date, with Robert Downey Jr. and Zach Galifianakis, that was seriously a straight remake of this film. I mean, it wasn't a complete remake, but it literally felt like a remake of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. But of course, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, it's a classic. I'm okay with remakes and all, but I don't think this one needs to get a remake because it's really like the chemistry between Martin and Candy that really sells us. I mean, the dialogue between those two was always on point. I mean, this movie is an instant classic. I mean, if you guys still haven't had a chance to check out Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, watch it. You'll die laughing. I mean, you'll have a good time with it. And man, I miss John Hughes. One of these days, I gotta do my 10 favorite John Hughes movies down the line. But all right, that's pretty much it for my 5 favorite Thanksgiving movies. Let me do the quick rundown. 5, The Oath. 4, The Ice Storm. 3, Home for the Holidays. 2, A Charlie Brown Thanksgiving. 1, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. In my honorable mention, I also like to add Pieces of April with Katie Holmes, who was also in the Ice Storm, by the way. Yeah, I mean, there's been like movies that features Thanksgiving in it, like maybe Tower Heist. I guess you could count as a Thanksgiving because their heist happens during Thanksgiving. So I guess you could actually count Tower Heist as a Thanksgiving film. Jack and Jill is actually more of a guilty pleasure. I guess there's a few other ones. But let me leave it to you guys. What are your favorite Thanksgiving movies? Drop a comment below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell for more notifications. This here is Thomas Sells signing off.